Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our topic today is describing the transformation path. In class today, we've been doing a lot of work given an object and its translation, reflection, or rotation, and figuring out where its image is. But our objective today is given an object and its image, I can describe the path of transformation that may have occurred to create the image. So already you know when you're given an object and its transformation, you can find where the image is. So if this is our original object and it's transformed 3 units to the right and 2 units down, you know how to find, how to find its new location. But the next challenge is identifying what that transformation is when all you're given is the object and its image. And that's a little bit trickier, but you have the skills that you need to be able to do this. So our first step is to figure out what kind of transformation it is. Is it a simple slide? Is it just moving from one point to another without any turning? Is it a flip, a reflection over an axis? Whoopsie. Is it a turn or a rotation, or is it some combination? Does the object slide and then turn? Step 2 is to identify the coordinate points and their matching points in the image. This is going to help you look for patterns, which is step 3, looking for patterns between the original and the image. So let's jump right in and look at an example, because until I show you some examples, these steps are going to be a little confusing. So here we have one triangle, we'll call it triangle ABC, and triangle A prime, B prime, and C prime. This is my original geometric shape, and this is its image. So step number 1 asks us to figure out what kind of transformation it is. Is it a slide, a flip, a turn, or some combination? And in this case, I started out pretty basic for you. It's just a slide. And the reason I know that, hang on, let me write this down, translation. The reason I know that is because my original triangle doesn't turn on its side. And that's pretty much how I know it's a translation. Okay, moving on. So my second step is to look at my original coordinate points of A, B, and C and compare them to the points on my image. So point A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left, so that would be -7, and then up 3, which would be -7, 3. A prime is at, I don't go left or right on the x-axis, so that's 0, and then -1. B is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. And 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. And B prime is at 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4. And lastly, we have C, which is at -3, 3. And it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, -1. Okay, so now that we have these, we're going to be looking for some patterns. We know it's just a slide, so it's just simply move it a certain number this direction and a certain number of points that direction. So we can look, let's compare the x value of A with the x value of A prime. To get from -7 to 0, what do you have to do? Well, you have to add 7, or you have to go 7 right, okay, to get from -7 all the way to 0. So I can already tell my first part of the translation is to move the object right 7. And then let's see where it goes up and down. I am going from 3 to -1. My question is, how do I get there from 3 to -1? My answer is I'm going to go down 7. Sorry, that's wrong. Down 4 in order to get from 3 to -1. So my first guess for my translation is right 7, down 4. But you really need to check it for every single one of your points on the original to make sure you're not missing anything. So for point B, -5, if I go right 7, I'm going to add 7 to -5, which will give me +2. And yeah, that checks out. We're good. And then for my y value, I need to go down 4, so I'm going to do 7 minus 4. Uh-oh. That says 4, but I think it should be 3. Let me check something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the problem, Mrs. Otzaduber. My original B is -5, 8. And there's a perfect example of how you can check your work as you go. Don't make the mistakes Mrs. Ott makes. And then, of course, I'm going to check again for my point C. -3 plus 7 gives me 4, and 3 minus 4 gives me -1. So all my points check out, and I know that this is the answer for my translation. Okay? Let's look at another example here. You can see here that clearly there's something more going on than a simple slide. Yeah, this is moving a certain direction, but it's also turning on its side. So we have to approach this one a little bit differently. Let's start out by knowing that it is a translation and a rotation. And let's call this triangle A, B, C once again. And then this triangle would be A prime, B prime, C prime, because it's been flipped on its side. Okay? So let's look at my original and my final points. If I have A, my point A is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -7, 3. They're the same points as the last one, just so you know. And then my A prime in this case is different. My A prime is at 0, 0. My B is at -5, 8. And B prime is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -2. And finally, C is at -3, 3. And C prime is at 0, -1, 2, 3, -4. All right, so here's what I would do when I was approaching this problem. I would say to myself, you know, this A right here is in a really nice position. It's right at the origin. And since I know I'm doing a rotation, and my rotation is around the origin, remember that from yesterday? So when I do my rotation, I do it around the origin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what the translation is to get this triangle in this position. And then that's going to make it easy for me to figure out that, okay, well, from here to here, that's just a 90-degree rotation. So let's figure out what that translation would be. And I am going to rely on A. I'm looking for this A to be in this position. So let's figure out what that would be. To get from -7 to 0, I have to add 7, or go right 7. And then to get from 3 to 0, I have to subtract 3, which is the same as going down 3. So how about I test that out and do that on each one of these? So right 7 and down 3 would give me there. My A matches up with my A prime. That's good. If I take my B and go right 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and down 3, 1, 2, 3, there's B. And then my C, I go right 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and down 3. And that gives me a triangle right here. Okay? So my translation has moved my triangle to this position. And then it's a nice, easy rotation of that triangle to line up with my image. And that rotation is a quarter turn, which, as you know by now, is a 90-degree turn. So this is the translation, and then a rotation 90 degrees clockwise. Okay? So that's the basics of it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and give you one, oopsie, sorry. I'm going to give you one as a reflection right here. See if you can figure this one out. Type your response into Edmodo, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Thank you.